Hello everyone and welcome back to the Create mod, where we've got quite a few mod updates, and most notably we're on Create 6.0. The new version of Valkyrian Skies has come out, the factory must grow 1.0, you know, all of the mod updates. So what I thought we'd do as our first thing is build a plane. So this is the fuselage width for a 1.5 to 1 scale A320. We'll probably build a neo just so the engines are actually big. But yeah, the first thing that we'll do is we'll want to lay out the size of the plane, so that's fuselage length and then the wingspan, and maybe like approximate locations of different things. So let's do that first. Alright, we've got the basic shape laid out. I don't think the wings are like in the correct place, or the horizontal stabilizers. We haven't got a vertical stabilizer in yet, just because, well, we haven't got the roof over there yet. So the next part will probably be contouring the fuselage. I might time lapse this, I'm not sure. Depends if we can get replay mod working. So yeah, if I can get it working, there'll be a time lapse. If not, we'll cut back to once the fuselage is complete, I guess. Alright, so this is the main bulk of the fuselage done. We haven't done the wing box, obviously. This is just where like the fuselage will jut out a bit and become a bit more blocky. For where the wing goes, it'll be about here-ish, and then the wing sweeps back like that. We got a windshield over here. I mean, this is obviously the first like major nose draft, so I'll probably will edit it a bit. Same with the tail, quite a bit, but they don't look bad, to be fair. They do look pretty alright, and the rough dimensions are about correct. I haven't fully checked every single dimension, but obviously I will do for like adding in the wings and the stabilizers at the tail. So yeah, the next thing will be the wing box, and what I'll probably do is just build one wing, create a schematic of the wing, mirror it, and then paste it on the other side, because you can do that, and it just makes my life 10 times easier. So we will do that now. this wing is now complete, mostly. Obviously we still need to put the engines in here, but we got the slight dihedral, which is where the wing like sort of tilts up, and then obviously it's angled as well. I mean, it looks a bit rough, but this is the best you can do, honestly, in Minecraft. Yes, it's not gonna look great. I might change the occasional block here and there. We got the flap tracks in as well. Here we got the flap bearing, and these copycat wings I'm fairly sure act as flaps anyway. So that's nice as well. Other than that, it is just time to put in the engines. Now for the engines we have options. So Valkyrian Skies has this gas system that I've tried to work with, but honestly it's pretty complex with the gas thruster. So this is why I was waiting for Create Propulsion, because you just have the thruster and then pair that with the factory must grow. You can just put in any fuel from the factory must grow, and you know, it'll just work in the thruster. From what I was looking at, diesel is actually the best fuel, which really does not make sense in real life, but whatever. And then the other options would just be something like the propeller, but I feel like we can have both a thruster and a propeller, because in Create Propulsion they've got these propellers that you can put andesite blades on, and this sort of looks like the intake fan of a jet engine. The only issue is you can't place blocks like here, even non-solid blocks. So if I get like stairs, for example, I can't place that there, even though you can see that it's not. If I do this again, you can see there it's not actually touching, it still removes it, so that might be an issue. I will obviously test a few engine designs, but yeah, so that will be the next part of the time lapse. Alright, so the engine is done, I guess. It doesn't really look the way that I want it to, it's sort of because we want it to be half a block lower, and obviously that isn't really possible. Also this would, I mean, like, it's technically in line with the center, but like this pylon should be more like that, maybe even slightly lower, which would work if we lowered the engine by half a block, or I guess raise the entire plane by the half a block, but that would be equally as annoying. So this is the best that we can do, and then we got a copycat fuel line going this way, which, I mean, it looks a bit odd. I'll mould the wing around here to make it look slightly better, but we got a thruster here. I'm realising now we need to somehow power this with a redstone link, I'm assuming. Just seeing, can I redirect this pipe? No, that'll look too weird. We'll probably have to redstone link it underneath then, unfortunately, but you know, that's how Create Mod goes sometimes. Yeah, you can't always get the best looking stuff, so we'll have to deal with that. Let me just fix this back up. But yeah, so what we'll work on next is the landing gear, and I'll probably stop at this part of the time lapse. I'll just come back once I've got the this landing gear done and the nose landing gear done as well. Hopefully this won't be too difficult. Alright, so I've pretty much completed all of the difficult stuff inside now. We've got a bit of a cockpit over here. and then all of the transmission, fuel and stuff is back here. So we'll start all the way back here. This is just a gearbox that will eventually have the compressible shafts going to the elevators. This is the fuel tank for what's technically the APU, but this engine powers the plane for anything that needs rotation. So we've just got a pump pulling fuel this way, and then this pump pushing out carbon dioxide this way, and then a lot of gears. And then we got this clutch with a redstone link down there, and this is an inverted clutch from Create Connected, just so then when you're trying to turn on the engine, you're not trying to turn on the entire plane, because all the way here we got a hand crank that's connected to just the engine part with this clutch deactivated. So when you want to turn the engine on, you will flick this lever and you'd crank that, but obviously because there's already fuel in the engine, it just turns on automatically now. But you can see that the rest of the plane isn't turned on yet, and then if I flick this one, then that powers the rest of the plane. So the transmission comes through here, and then we got a bunch more things, a bunch more gearboxes out here, and this is powering the things that want to have a high rotational speed. So that will just be the flaps, the elevator. I say flaps, these are technically acted as ailerons. 2 fuel pumps as well, one there, and then one on the other side. This is the big main fuel tank, 27 fuel blocks, so you know, hopefully that should be enough fuel. And then we've just got pipes going this way, and then also we've got these compressible shafts going all the way through this way into the engine, so we can make the front propeller spins. And I've got an idea for this, and same on this side as well. And then the fuel line just comes along here through that pump, and then goes down into the engine to the jet out the back. I extended the engines a tiny bit. They still don't look great. They should be like half a block lower, as I said before, but there's not really much that you can do. And then here we just got the flap thing. I haven't set the frequencies yet, but the flaps come out like this. So the next part that we need to work on is probably, or is going to have to be the horizontal and vertical stabilizer. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, we've also got the landing gear system in. We've got some gear doors and retractable gear back here. However, the front gear doesn't have any gear doors. I couldn't figure out a way to fit them in without like the floor breaking and stuff. And then the nose gear here has got what's this called? An oleo wheel, which allows us to turn it when it's on the ground. And also brake as well. And then these I couldn't make any wheels with actual wheels, so we just have to make it custom with like this being a tire, this also being a tire, and then this is the main strut. But it works fairly well. If I get my controller here, then we can see the doors open, and then the gear retracts like that. Unfortunately, there is a bit of a spot here that doesn't work, but over here it looks very nice. You could probably put maybe, I don't know. Over here it looks very nice and clean. Over here obviously there's a gap here, a bit of a gap here, so it's not quite ideal, but you know, we're doing the best that we can, especially at these smaller scales. And then same thing happens when you extend the gear like that, and then it will close back up, and there we go. So yeah, that's very nice, and that's all working. So yeah, back to the time lapse now, and we will get the horizontal and vertical stabilizers complete. Alright, that is the tail and horizontal stabilizers complete. They look pretty good. I mean, the tail's a bit blocky, but that's simply because if I want it to be in the center, there isn't like copycat bites that are in the center, unfortunately. So I was just using these copycat wings from Create Propulsion, but you can actually make them thicker if you just shift right click. There's up to 2 levels of thickness. You can't make them a full block, unfortunately, but you know, that's fine. I am slightly worried that this is like a lot of wings, so it might create some issues. I'm not sure. Like, because comparatively there's not that many wings on the actual wing. Like here, where it's like a cross, that's a wing, but otherwise there isn't any wings. And then obviously here we got the flap. Well, in where the flaps would be, we have the ailerons, and then back here we got these these 6 wings will be like the actual wing part of the horizontal stabilizer, and then we got the elevators here with these 3 trailing wings. So that should be fine. I did have to add 2 cold blocks right to the nose. You know, obviously this is how the radar works. You just place 2 meters cubed of gold there. And that's simply because if I come into here and turn on NC hitboxes, this yellow cube, that is the center of mass of the plane, and if we look where the landing gear is, it is just in front of it now, because before it was like back here just behind it, so adding in these gold blocks might not even be enough, to be fair, but it moves to center of mass in front of the landing gear, and it might need to move slightly further, although I'm not too sure on that. So the next goal now is we just need to, I say wire up the plane, we just need to put in all of the different frequencies of things and with the link controller, and I'm gonna use the drive-by wired link controller, I think. What is it? Oh, I know, Tweet controllers link controller. Simply because it's got more options, and I had an idea of if we want to taxi around, obviously we probably don't need the full thrust of these thrusters, so we can just use these propellers. So we'll have 2 things. We'll have one link just connected to the general like takeoff thrust or just flying thrust, so the propellers will be on whilst flying, but then we'll have a second one that will just be for ground taxiing, and then that will also connect the left and right to the front wheel rather than to the ailerons, because the ailerons aren't going to steer us on the ground. And yeah, it just gives us more flexibility into what we combine to what. And additionally, it also means that if I press Alt, I think it's Alt, I don't think I've set this up right, but you can press a key that allows your mouse movement to control some of the frequencies, but in a way that the redstone signal will vary depending on how left, right, up or down you're looking, and that's very nice for these the ailerons and the elevators, because that just allows for smoother flying rather than having max input every single time you want to move somewhere. It just allows us smoother flying. We won't do that with the thrust, mostly because I don't know how I would do it with the thrust other than like the scroll wheel, but that would be really awkward. So thrust will just be like W or something. But yeah, might take me like 15 to 20 minutes to get all wired up and to test out, so I'll come back for the maiden flight. Alright, I have got it all wired up now. I had to change the landing gear a bit because it was acting kind of weird in the way that before it was like half a block down, so it was sort of resting like half a block in the air, which meant that the front landing gear was shorter than what it should have been. It's a mess, but I've raised the wheels up by half a block, so now they're actually resting on the ground. It does look like the plane's slightly tilted, I think. Yeah, I think that's just the front landing gear. I'm not quite sure on the balance. It might be slightly unbalanced right now, but you know, we can fix that later. But we got the link controllers here, and if we activate this, we have taxiing mode, so if I just press the up arrow rather than W, it only spins up the propellers on the engine, and then I can steer the plane left and right as needed. And then obviously if I press W, then that actually has the jet engines on, and the plane does like sort of take off a bit initially, and then if I press Alt, that will lock my camera, but now when I move my mouse, that will affect the flight controls, so it actually flies really smoothly. I mean, obviously I'm using a mouse rather than like what's it called, a controller or something, so you know, it would probably be better if I got a controller simply to control the planes, but you know, it's flying smoothly, so if you want to turn, you'll do something like this. I mean, we could probably do with some better flaps, to be fair. It doesn't, it's not the greatest at turning, as we can see here. I'm trying to level off right now, but it's just not letting me. Yeah, we might have a bit of an issue here. Alright, I seem to have regained controls. It's quite weird with the mouse, honestly. I will look into getting like a controller just to be able to control my planes much easier. But then coming into land, fairly straightforward. Like that. And then obviously we do have the brakes on as well. But I mean, it sort of brakes pretty fast on its own. Oh. Hold on. That's a bit of an issue. I retracted the landing gear accidentally. Alright, let's extend it. We also need to re-glue that section of the tyres that just aren't glued. The brake is the down arrow, not S. But yeah, so the final part will just be adding in the rest of the copycat to the interior and then giving it a livery. And that should be fine. Why is the engine turned off? Must have accidentally flicked the lever. Yeah, this one. Alright. This game doesn't have any bugs whatsoever. But yeah, so it flies fairly well. I might look into, I don't know, maybe another flap here or something, just to extend the control surfaces a bit, because it seems to not handle particularly well. Yeah, I'll look into that and I'll finish off the interior, and then probably it'll be the final time lapse will just be adding a livery to this so it looks cool. Alright, the red tech livery has been completed. This looks very nice. It's basically just the British Airways livery with red. Quite original. But yeah, the engine's nice and red, everything else nice and grey. They're different shades of grey for different things, so they're distinguishable. You've got the nice interior red tech on both sides. You've got the company logo back there. I mean, it looks like a target, but whatever. And then down here we have a smaller logo. Hold on. F5, there we go. And out of Minecraft. We got a smaller logo down there. So that's quite nice. We can have a little look in the interior. We'll go in one of the rear doors. So we'll start at the back. We got 2 lavatories, like this. A bit of a cooking area. Here, there's a trapdoor to access the fuel tank because there's no wing fuel tanks. And then we got a bunch of seats here. And then there's another trapdoor here to access this main fuel tank. So this fuel tank is the one for the engines, and then this one at the back is the one for the spinny engine, the one that creates all of the rotational power for the plane. And then just heading forward, there's more seats, and then we just got more cooking areas as well. And then 2 forward entry doors. I was thinking about adding emergency exits, but yeah, whatever. It's not. This plane might crash, but it won't. Safety isn't as much of a concern with this one. And then in the cockpit here, it's still nice. I have changed this one to a linked controller rather than the tweaked linked controller, just to simplify the flying. So we can turn on the engine, turn on transmission, and then with this it's just W is engines on, space for pitch up, shift for pitch down, S for gear up, like this. The landing gear still works, looks very pretty. And then A and D for roll left and roll right respectively. So this plane looks very nice, quite proud of it to be fair. It definitely flies pretty well as well. I did change the amount of flaps on the ailerons. We seem to have lost a lot of lift. I did change the amount of flaps on the ailerons and the amount of wings in the tail, just to get it to fly a bit better, and I feel like the changes have worked, to be fair. But yeah, that will be all for this episode. Thank you all very much for watching. In the next video, it'll probably be another plane build, because I'm looking into starting a fresh world for the Create Mod series, but just transferring over the progress that we've already made, simply because it's the world doesn't seem to want to work very well. Oh, alright, Distant Horizons, just reload. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.